So today we're still going to be working on getting towards gapping the doors on the 33 Hot Rod. Hi everybody, and welcome to the channel about kit cars and other car topics. If you like what you see, please subscribe and hit the notification buttons below and share with others on social media. So as you saw, I've been kind of ramping up to getting the doors gapped in, and we got real good progress last time, but now we need to float the car onto its suspension so it's not on the frame. We want that frame to sag the way it's normally going to sag, so that way the doors don't get tweaked because that frame is not being supported. And so we got to do that. We got to throw on the waterfall. We got to bolt on the hardtop, and then we got to build the doors, and then we got to get that all on there. So let's hop to it. All right, so we're getting ready to put the doors on so I can actually start trimming them in. And because of the flex of the frame, which is not a lot, but enough to cause issues with the door gaps, what I had to do is actually switch the car over to being not being held up by the frame, but actually held up by the suspension. And I was told that, I could put jack stands under, right under the A-frame there or whatever, but mine are all painted. There's really nowhere except like one bolt that you could actually put the jack stand on, which didn't make sense to me. And so came up with the idea, actually my neighbor Bob was like, well, why don't you use my ramps and put the car on its own weight with the ramps? I'm like, brilliant. So got the ramps out there. So now the front suspension is there. And just to take note, when the car's on its own weight, of course, this is going to push down and get out of the way of the radiator. So, I was talking to someone, they were saying, well, why don't you align all this stuff while it's on its own weight so that way you have more clearance here? Well, the problem is if you ever put it up on a lift, which I will, to either change the oil or something like that, then those are going to ram into your radiator. So I actually don't want to do that. However, that's just a side note. So I have jack stands on the actual axle. I have the wheels propped up here. I need to put the waterfall in. I need to put the hardtop in and lock it down. Now, many people have talked about you don't want to cut in your doors until the hardtop is locked in. That I believe is true. However, I believe my biggest issue is actually this waterfall. Last time I bolted this waterfall in, it really kind of messed with the body and shifted it. And we're going to see now, armed with that information, how bad it gets when I start locking this in fully. Because, this fiberglass, it's super stiff. It's super strong. And so when you start putting all these bolts in, it starts tweaking it in. it doesn't just conform, it starts moving stuff. So I'm gonna put the waterfall in first, and then try to get the hardtop on. Now, some of the issues we're having with the hardtop is, and I tried to film this earlier, but it's kind of hard to see, but there's a big groove. Like, I could put my fingers in there. And so where these holes are, which is, where they're supposed to be, is kind of, hitting in here. So you can't really get a bolt to come through this hole from the top down. So I might actually use, there's some double studs. I might actually use that for those. I'm probably going to use the double studs here, have them pre-studded up, and then put a nut on the bottom side. So that's all kind of to be determined, and I'd love to install that stuff first and then put the hardtop on, but since it's just me, I have to slide that hardtop across the body, so that ain't happening with studs. I'll just mar the hell out of it. So that's kind of where we're at and where we're going with this, and we'll see what happens. So I was running into some issues trying to get the door aligned. Now you could see this gap's somewhat equal, but on the top I'm actually able to move it in, but the bottom I can't get to move in at all. So I really wasn't sure what was going on there. I'm like, well, let me try the second door. So when I went to do the second door, as you saw, I couldn't even get the bolts in through because it wasn't lining up. And so I sat there and I'm like, man, it's almost like these are shooting up instead of down, which would cause that side not to come in. So then I sat there, and if you look there, there's some truth to that. Now, of course, it's not totally tightened down, but it gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. So then I sat there for a few minutes and I'm like, man, it's almost like they welded the area that controls these in the wrong degrees. It's not, it's not, I wish that was adjustable. And then it dawned on me, it is adjustable. That's a bolted on part. However, I have to take the whole waterfall out to get to it and readjust that now that the doors are somewhat on the car. So, and I bolted those on like 7 months ago, so I forgot, right? So, I'm going to have to take this all apart to get to that and start adjusting that, which I'm not sure I'm going to do today because... So I'm not sure I'm going to do that today because I'm getting massive smoke in the garage, and let me show you why. I don't know if you could see it, but just beyond that tree, it's like a gray smoke haze. In fact, even looking at these trucks down the street, it's hard for me to see. And the reason being is that whole mountain back there is on fire. And so, in fact, you could see to the left, it's just fogged out right over there. So the winds are blowing the fire in, and so it's probably not really that safe in a sense to be out here. In fact, I don't know if you could see it, but it's just a white plume haze going across the whole sky. And down there, just above these trees here, it just looks like gray smoke. It's really, really bad. So it smells like, 25 neighbors have their fireplace on right now. So I think I'm going to call it a day and step inside.